Hi everyone, this is Madan again. You've heard me talk about HabitZup many times. Today, let me have a conversation with my co-founder. And hi, welcome. Yeah, introduce yourself, please.
Hi, I'm Sumati, co-founder of HabitZup Innovations and a proud mother of two. So, as a computer science from PhD Tech Coimbatore, I started my career in HP. Worked over 14 years across global teams with US and Japan on mainly contributing to storage discoveries, high availability solutions, and disaster recovery solutions.
Okay. By the way, me and Sumati studied in PhD Tech together, and we joined HP together, and we worked. I worked in networking domain and cloud areas, and I left HP in 2010 to pursue little startup challenges, and then I went on to join Citrix and worked on cloud portal and all. And Sumati, can you talk about our ActOnMagic story?
Yeah, so when you started ActOnMagic, so I was continuing my work at HP, so that I will be taking care of. I was taking care of home and office and kids, mainly managing the home and kids, and as well as uh, financially we were getting support from the HP.
Yeah.
And
I must say, for every founder, who's trying to bootstrap, without a proper financial support, it is, big challenge to stay focused on what we're trying to do. And most of the times, we won't know what exactly the problem that a founder is trying to solve. And it is important to have a financial support, like how Sumati said, for the first 1 year, she was supporting the family, taking care of all the financial needs, while I figure out what problem to solve. And yeah,
and I owe a lot to my parents and in-laws too, in supporting by taking care of the kids at home while we were continuing our career aspirations.
Okay, thank you, Sumati. And ActOnMagic got acquired by entity NetMagic in 2018. And Sumati, what happened at that time? After entity acquired us?
Yeah, so I was, so the team was in Pune, and we were trying to integrate NetMagic's cloud, Simply Cloud, into our multi-cloud management platform, and we were working in that line.
Yeah,
and
we
then
added Azure, and there are many platforms that we added. And I think one of the challenges that, not as a challenge or interesting thing that we observed was, we are not well versed in Hindi. And like our teams were in Pune, who were mainly, interact in Hindi. There was a little challenge in understanding.
Communication was a big challenge.
Big challenge, yeah. And one thing was clear at that time. When we are in person and work with them, we get to understand more, and we got to understand different kind of people from different kind of backgrounds, and it was
and then meanwhile we all became a family. It was very close knit family environment.
Correct, exactly.
It's all in the beginning. Starting trouble.
Starting trouble, yeah, right. So actually, from the beginning, even though we were running startup, like from the beginning, we were very sure that we are responsible for the team's future. So we always ensure that their work-life balance is maintained, and we used to, as a founders, we used to take bulk of the workload and prevent team getting burnout. And that may be one of the reasons for our HabitZup story also. When did you take the break in entity?
Yeah, so when my kids came to secondary education, so that's the time I thought, okay, I will need to spend more time with kids, and so this is the very demanding, very academic pressure. Kids were having a lot of academic pressure, so I thought, okay, let me give my full support to them. That's when I decided to take a break. One is spending time with my kids and family, and spending time on myself as well.
Yeah. And then I continued an entity until 2024, and then I decided. So I felt
during that time, right? So, after the break, we started having a lot of intentional time together as a family.
As a family, yeah.
And
So we had.
I will play with kids. So many board games. So we used to keep playing, and then so you used to observe, and then you used to tell like, yeah, these days, children of these days, they are all exposed to all the global ideas, but there was not any game or any program that was teaching them about Indian values or the wisdom.
Generally, yeah. So you rightly said, Sumati. So what we observed was, when we like at ActOnMagic, we didn't have much time to spend time with kids, and I still remember the days where I used to pick kids from school and then keep them in our ActOnMagic conference room, and they used to do homework. Although as a founders, we were focusing on building the company and doing something meaningful for the country, but at the same time we did acknowledge that it is a kind of little bit of load on our children. And like when Sumati took break from entity and spent more time on her and also with kids, and at the same time pandemic came and a lot of things happened, and it was a reset for the complete life cycle that we were running behind, and we were consciously spending time with kids and the neighbors around, and so we have a spiritual guru who teaches how to lead a happy life, a balanced life, and we used to have family meetings and talk about it, what happens in school, and generally get to understand how kids are thinking. And we had a very structured way, like every day evening we used to do prayers together, and at least there are many ways kids opened up. We could see kids were they were doing more things, they were more happy, they had, because they could see that parents are at home taking care of them, and it really made a lot of difference. And
in fact,
yeah.
when you were telling, right, so you were suggesting some games, some games for children to teach Indian values and Indian knowledge system. So that is when so that excited all three of us, like my kids and me. So they all came boarded. Okay, let's talk about it. Let's try. So you came up with a prototype with the visiting card, and then we used to play at home. We kept playing every day, every now and then. We kept playing, refined the game. So first of all, that game made a big change within our family as well. So it brought us more harmony, more understanding. Why don't we share it with others? So
yeah, that's how HabitZup started. And actually from the beginning, before AA became very popular, right? So if we go and tell kids, if we give a long story and all, they were not ready to accept it. So that is the reason why we felt, if we can somehow figure out a game format. Uno was very popular, right? Everyone plays it. Learning is required to play Uno game. Then that's how the card game came, and one of our friend introduced a card game called Exploding Kittens. It was fun, and my kids taught me how to play the game. We used to play a lot, and one thing which we liked was it is very entertaining, engaging. At the same time, we didn't like the negativity just from the text, right? If you don't have this card, you will explode. And we don't want to encourage any violence or any of those negative thoughts in kids. So we wanted to create a completely positive game. And that's how HabitZup came, and HabitZup card game One of the early version was like, we need to make 3 pairs of cards, and whoever says I am blessed is the winner in that game. That's how it started, and we had number of
Yeah, we
iterations.
played with our kids' friends, and then incorporated their feedback, and then in our neighbors group, we used to play with them, and then slowly it was evolving.
Yeah, so we did a lot of testing, with neighbors, and we incorporated many feedbacks. We are grateful to all the kids who played with us to improve the game.